They opened the gates to Tiger Stadium about 9:30 on Saturday morning. Let us in, headed on up to the press box, and they cranked things up a little bit before 10:30 for the scrimmage. And it was a lot of live action. I was curious, like, what they were going to do for a practice. Y'all know my feelings. Like, I've been to a lot of LSU football practices over the years, and they're not super interesting. A lot of drills, a lot of footwork, a lot of sled popping, a lot of bag popping, a lot of cones. Like, you know, and if you bring 5,000 people or however many people were there watching, and they do a lot of that, like, that's just not very interesting. It's also not super interesting to watch non-tackle periods, especially like when they do running plays and like everybody just like lines up and blocks, and then the linebacker kind of touches the running back. Like, it's just, that's not super compelling. But they did do some thuds and they did do some tackling to the ground. There was, I thought, enough to chew on if you're just a fan that's there and wants to see a little bit of football. Big time shout out to LSU Sports Information for getting some breakfast sandwiches up to the press box. That was very much appreciated. I had 2 of them. Also knocked down a couple of cold Coca-Colas as well. So I enjoyed my time up there in the press box. I may have been watching the Masters for a little bit of practice. That happens. But I did pay attention. I did take some notes. I was sitting next to Matt Moscona, and he wrote the practice report up on LouisianaSports.net. I'll tell you this. My biggest takeaway from the spring, and then to boil it down to the actual work on the field on Saturday, is this singularly. LSU's defensive ends are playing great. Now, as is always the case with inter-squad stuff, like, maybe it's an indictment on LSU's tackles. That could be. It could be either thing. But LSU's ends were a terror on Saturday. Jack Pyburn was great. I thought Gabe Relaford had an awesome day. You saw some Jamari Butler get back there for a sack. I saw Patrick Payton get back into the backfield as well. Like, those guys were wrecking shop versus the 1s and the 2s in the scrimmage action. And I have questions about LSU at tackle. I do. Like, we saw Weston Davis out there. We saw Tyree Adams out there. And I'll talk about the offensive line here in a minute. But I want to start with the ends because I think they played great. And I think there's reason to believe they're going to play great in the fall. You saw Jack Pyburn be a really, really good player against the run last year for Florida. You saw Patrick Payton put up a really productive career at Florida State. Jamari Butler has played a ton of football at Nebraska. Gabe Relaford was, by some, the best player in the state of Louisiana a couple of years ago. And he's moving into his second year where you feel like you're going to have a big jump. And so, while, yes, I can acknowledge that LSU's offensive line is a work in progress, I can also look at the defensive end position and go, they really have something here. Because not only were they super productive on Saturday, like, it's deep, it's talented, and it's versatile. Like, I don't know how well Patrick Payton plays the run, but I know how well Jack Pyburn plays the run. And if you're facing a team that's really getting downhill on you, Pyburn can help with that. I don't know how well Pyburn's going to rush the passer. My distinct feeling is that with the coaching that Kevin Peoples is giving him and the work that he's putting in, that he's going to be better and more productive as a pass rusher at LSU than he was at Florida, where he only had 1 sack. But I know Patrick Payton can rush the passer. And I feel like Jamari Butler gives you a big physical presence. I feel like Gabe Relaford has high-end potential. I was really, really impressed with what LSU did on the edges on Saturday. They were constantly back there. And the quarterbacks have no contact jerseys on, so they're not bringing them to the ground. And there was at least one instance where Jack Pyburn thought he got a sack. Garrett Nussmeier did not think there was a sack. He thought he would have avoided it, but he did get touched. And so, like, you've got some of that going on. But you could see that LSU did a really good job as far as playing on the edges on Saturday. That was the biggest takeaway for me. Let's flip that conversation to the offensive line. We saw a lot of different combinations, and I wrote about this on LouisianaSports.net back on Saturday if you want to go check that out, because it has some quotes from Brian Kelly. And I think that what Brian Kelly said was interesting. It's about their approach. Like, they were not trying to get their starting 5 settled in April. Like, that was not the goal when they started spring ball. They wanted to develop guys. They wanted to get a look at how different guys played, and you're seeing a ton of movement up front. DJ Chester was the center to begin the scrimmage. Braylon Moore absolutely circled in and played for him. Josh Thompson did play some right tackle. He also went down and played left guard. Those two guys, and DJ Chester playing center and guard, like those two guys are rotating positions. Then you've got Bo Bordelon playing a little bit, Cohen Eccles playing a little bit. You've got Paul Mabinga playing some guard. Like, they're showing a lot of different looks, and rarely do you go out there and see an extended period of time where you've just got 5 offensive linemen out there and they're the top 5. So I feel comfortable saying that Tyree Adams is the heavy favorite to be the left tackle. I would suggest the other 4 positions are very much still up in the air. And Brian Kelly talked about it after the scrimmage and said, look, we want to spend the first 8 or 9 practices in camp looking at who could be the best. And at that point, which you would imagine will be somewhere in the neighborhood of August 11th or 12th, you'll have 2 to 3 weeks to get ready for Clemson, and they'll go with a starting 5 for the last 3 weeks of camp. That's the timeline they're operating on. So, as he said, if our goal this spring was to find a starting offensive line, we're not even close to that. But that was never the goal. They just wanted to look. And so Thompson's only been here for 2.5 weeks, and so he's playing multiple positions, and I think they'll use his versatility and kind of find the spot that he fits best based on how the other guys perform. But you're looking at a lot of different combinations on the offensive line. I'll say this, and I included this in my story as well. Listen to what I'm saying, and don't misinterpret it. I'm saying that LSU's running game is going to look a lot different in 2025. I did not say LSU's running game is going to be way improved in 2025. Those are different things. I sent out a tweet with my story that said LSU's going to look a lot different in the running game this year. And I was like, oh, yeah, you think they're going to be great? That's what we were told last year. You think they're going to run the ball? I didn't say that. I didn't say they were going to be awesome at running the ball. I didn't say they were going to dominate people up front. I said it's going to look different. How's it going to look different? Well, we've seen it. And Brian Kelly told us on Saturday, there's a reason they did some of the running stuff after the media was told they had to put their cameras away. It's because they don't want it on YouTube. But there's a lot more creativity. They've got Xavion Thomas playing in the backfield as a running back at times. There was one set where they had Aaron Anderson and Xavion Thomas back there. You're seeing creative ball handling and footwork by Garrett Nussmeier. You're seeing a lot of misdirection. You're seeing a lot of guards pulling. They're doing a lot more than just simple gap scheme running. When you've got Jaden Daniels, you can pretty much just rely on the read option and a talented ball carrier at running back, a talented ball carrier at quarterback, just figuring it out based on how the offensive line is able to maneuver people. When you don't have Jaden Daniels and you have Garrett Nussmeier back there, you've got to have a plan and stick to it and get it executed. And Brian Kelly said they're doing gap scheme. They're doing a lot of pulling. They're running duo. They've got Xavion Thomas back there for creativity. They've got Harlem Berry into the equation. And Brian Kelly was asked about him. I thought his quotes about Harlem Berry were great. He was like, he's just a natural runner. You can't teach what Harlem Berry has. He just gets the ball and he has a feel for how to handle himself. And that's a guy that is going to be very much a part of the mix in 2025. Caleb Jackson got a ton of carries on Saturday because Caden Durham sprained his ankle. He was in a walking boot. Brian Kelly said it's no concern of theirs for the fall. No reason to rush it. It's precautionary. You just hold him out. But that allowed Caleb Jackson to get a lot of carries. And so I'm still holding out hope that he can kind of have a resurgence here in his junior season. But you can see there's a significant amount of creativity in the running game, and that's an exciting thing. Last thing on LSU for Saturday, this is just a big picture thing that doesn't really have a specific example, just a feeling from watching the game. If you just watched LSU in the 11-on-11 portions, the defense really played well. They broke up some passes. They got after the passer. They did a pretty good job of stopping the run when it was live. I thought the defense played well. And you hope in year 2 of Blake Baker that defense takes a big step. You don't have Harold Perkins out there right now. You don't have Whit Weeks out there right now. So you're still missing 2 of your most impactful players. But I thought that LSU looked pretty good in the secondary. I thought they looked pretty good at the point of attack. I'm a little concerned about defensive tackle. We'll see how that goes. But, again, this is not a specific instance where I give you this play, and chart it. It's just a feeling of, okay, I'm watching practice. They're doing some red zone stuff. Yeah, defense looks really good. And that jogged my memory about one more thing that I'll leave you with. Red zone stuff. Juwan Johnson was awesome in the red zone. They line him up at quarterback. They get into the read option situations, and he was keeping it more often than not, and he was tough to tackle, plunging in from the 5-yard line and the 3-yard line. There's absolutely going to be a package for Juwan Johnson this year where he plays quarterback, and Brian Kelly said on Saturday, like, if you sell out 11 guys to stop the run when Juwan Johnson is at quarterback, he can throw it and hurt you. And so I think that's a good thing that LSU is going to add to the equation down in the red zone. LSU was not good at running the ball in the red zone this year. That means they were not a good red zone offense. This is a wrinkle you're going to see from LSU in the red zone. They're going to put Juwan Johnson in there. He's going to run the read option. You can call it the Wildcat if you want, but he can also throw the ball a little bit, and so you're going to see that, and I thought it was very successful on Saturday. He scored probably 4 touchdowns in the red zone portion of the practice, and it looked good. He looked very comfortable handling it. So I said back when they moved him, I didn't like it because I don't need to waste a defensive asset on third-string quarterback, which isn't going to help a team. But the one thing that changes that assertion on my part is if you've got a designed package for him that is going to essentially makes him a starter. He's the starter at red zone package quarterback. And that's okay. And it looked really good on Saturday. So lots of football content over at LouisianaSports.net. Matt's got a practice report up. I've got a offensive line story. I'll also get to a story coming up later today, I think, about Harlem Berry. So get into some of that as we move forward today. Hey, thanks for watching Hunt on LSU. Before you get out of here, do us a couple of favors. Hit that like button, leave your comments below, and subscribe to the channel for all your Fighting Tiger football talk. See you next time.